Maya sat by the window of the bus, watching the city slowly fade behind her. Tall buildings turned into small houses, and small houses turned into empty fields. The farther she moved from the noise, the heavier her heart felt, as if all the memories she wanted to forget were traveling with her. She tried to steady her breathing, but sadness had become a quiet companion she couldn't escape. She had spent so many years pretending she was fine that the truth had finally become too heavy to hide. For months, she had been waking up with the same dull ache in her chest. Life had not turned out the way she imagined. She had worked hard, tried her best, and still felt like nothing she did mattered. Her childhood was full of broken promises and unstable days. Her early adulthood wasn't much different. She had trusted people who left, believed words that turned out to be empty, and every disappointment made her feel smaller, almost invisible. Her last relationship ended with her feeling like she wasn't enough, like she couldn't meet expectations she didn't even understand. She wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Deeply, silently tired. She didn't tell anyone she was leaving for a while. She bought the ticket, packed a small bag, and stepped onto the bus without looking back. She didn't know exactly what she was searching for. Maybe silence, maybe rest, maybe a place where she could breathe without feeling pressure to be strong all the time. A friend had once mentioned a quiet countryside ranch that allowed visitors. Maya didn't think twice. She only hoped the wide-open sky would give her enough space to think. The bus stopped near a dirt road leading into miles of open land. Maya got down, her suitcase rolling behind her on uneven ground. The air felt different, cleaner, sharper, almost like it could wash her thoughts. She followed the small wooden sign that read, Willow Creek Ranch. Her steps slow but steady. She didn't know what she would find there, but she hoped it would at least be peaceful. As she approached the ranch, she noticed simple wooden fences stretching across the fields, horses grazing lazily, and a small house with smoke rising gently from its chimney. The scene was plain, but something about it calmed her. She walked up the porch steps and knocked. A moment later, the door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, with a relaxed posture that made him look comfortable in his own skin. His clothes were dusty from work, his boots worn from long days on the land, but his eyes were kind, steady in a way that made people feel safe. This was Ethan, though she didn't know his name yet. "You must be Maya," he said, offering a polite smile. "Long trip?" She nodded, unsure what to say. Her voice felt trapped somewhere behind all the emotions she had pushed down. Ethan didn't seem bothered by her silence. Instead, he moved aside and gestured for her to come in. Inside, the house was warm and simple. There were wooden shelves filled with old books, a table with neatly placed tools, and wide windows that allowed sunlight to spread across the room. Maya felt a small sense of comfort, like she had stepped into a place where life was uncomplicated. Ethan showed her to a guest room at the back of the house. The room wasn't big, but it felt peaceful. A small window overlooked the fields, where horses moved slowly against the golden grass. She placed her bag by the bed and whispered a quiet thank you. Ethan nodded gently. "We keep things calm around here," he said. "If you need quiet, you'll find plenty. If you want to help with the daily routines, you're welcome to. But there's no pressure." His words surprised her. She wasn't used to people giving her space without expecting something in return. She didn't know how to respond, so she simply nodded. Ethan didn't push her for conversation. He just gave her a small smile before walking back outside to finish his work. For a moment, Maya stood in the doorway of her room, unsure of what to do with the sudden stillness. The silence wasn't loud like the one in her apartment. It felt softer, almost comforting. She decided to step outside and explore the ranch. She walked along the path beside the fence, watching the horses. One of them, a light brown mare, lifted its head and moved closer. Maya hesitated, unsure if she should approach. But the horse lowered its head gently as if inviting her. She placed a hand on its mane, and the softness surprised her. The simple moment eased some of the tension she carried. Ethan saw her from a distance and walked over, his steps slow so he wouldn't startle her. "That's Daisy," he said. "She's friendly. She likes attention." Maya smiled softly, her first real smile in days. Ethan noticed but didn't comment on it. Instead, he leaned against the fence, giving her space but still staying near enough that she didn't feel alone. The sky was beginning to turn shades of orange and pink. Maya watched it quietly. She had forgotten how beautiful simple things could be. City life had swallowed her thoughts, leaving little room for moments like this. Ethan stayed for a while, not talking much. He seemed to understand that silence was what she needed. Maya appreciated that. She wasn't ready to open up about her life, and for once, she didn't feel pressured to explain herself. As the evening grew colder, she went back to the house. Ethan had prepared a simple meal, warm soup, fresh bread, and tea. He didn't ask her questions, didn't pry, didn't try to fix anything. He just sat across from her, eating quietly, giving her the comfort of presence without expectation. Maya ate slowly, feeling a strange mix of comfort and sadness. She couldn't remember the last time someone cared without needing a reason. She kept her eyes down, afraid her emotions would show if she looked at him. After dinner, she stepped outside again, watching the stars fill the sky, more stars than she had ever seen in the city. The night felt big and gentle. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling small but safe at the same time. Ethan walked out onto the porch, leaning against the railing. "First night usually feels strange," he said softly. "Takes some time to get used to the quiet." She nodded. "It's different," she replied in a soft voice. "Different can be good," he said, looking out at the fields. His voice was calm, not trying to convince her, not trying to change her mind. He spoke like someone who understood that healing took time. And for the first time in many months, Maya didn't feel like she needed to pretend. She stayed outside until the breeze grew too cool. When she finally lay down in bed, the window opened slightly. She listened to the quiet sounds of the ranch, the distant call of an owl, the soft rustle of grass, the comfortable hum of nature. Her heart was still heavy, but something about this place made the weight feel more bearable. As sleep slowly reached her, she whispered to herself that maybe, just maybe, she had made the right decision by coming here. She didn't know what the next days would bring, but for tonight, she felt a small spark of peace, and that was enough. Maya woke up the next morning to the soft light of dawn slipping through the window. The room felt warmer than it had the night before, as if the ranch itself had wrapped her in gentle quiet. She stretched slowly and sat up, noticing the soft scent of grass drifting inside. For the first time in a long while, she didn't wake with the feeling of being rushed or overwhelmed. She didn't know if she felt better, but she felt different. And that was enough to get her out of bed. When she walked outside, she found Ethan already at work. He moved with an easy rhythm, carrying hay from the barn toward the horses. His steps were steady, his movements simple and natural. He glanced up when he saw her and gave a small nod, the kind that didn't demand conversation but still made her feel acknowledged. "Morning," he said gently. She replied with the same soft greeting, unsure if she should help or just watch. Ethan, as if sensing her hesitation, pointed toward the fence. "If you want to join me, come along. If you'd rather explore or rest, that's fine too. No rules here." His calm tone made her feel safe. She followed him, her steps slow but steady. She wasn't used to places where people didn't expect something from her, where she didn't have to explain her thoughts or hide them. They reached the horses, who greeted Ethan with soft sounds. Maya stood a little distance away, watching how comfortable he looked. He seemed to belong here, in a way she didn't fully understand. It reminded her how lost she felt. Yet something in his presence gave her quiet comfort. "Would you like to feed them?" he asked, offering her a small bunch of hay. She hesitated, then nodded. She walked toward Daisy, the same gentle mare from yesterday. Daisy stepped forward, accepting the hay from Maya's hands with calm trust. Maya felt a soft warmth spread through her chest. For a moment, she didn't think about her past or her worries. She just felt present. "You're good with her," Ethan said. "Animals can sense when someone has a gentle heart." Maya lowered her eyes, unsure how to respond. Compliments always made her uncomfortable, especially ones that felt genuine. She didn't see herself the way he described. She wasn't sure she ever had. Ethan didn't push the moment. He simply continued working, allowing the silence to settle between them naturally. Maya followed him around the ranch, helping with small tasks, carrying a bucket, brushing Daisy, filling water troughs. None of it was difficult, but each task made her feel useful in a way she hadn't felt in months. After finishing the morning chores, Ethan walked with her toward the porch. He handed her a glass of water and sat on the steps. Maya joined him, their eyes following the long stretch of distant hills. "This place helps people slow down," he said quietly. "Most visitors come here looking for something they've lost. Or something they never had." She looked at her hands, twisting them softly. "I didn't come looking for anything," she whispered. "I just needed to get away." "That's a reason too," he replied gently. Maya didn't say anything more. The way he spoke made her feel seen, but not judged. She wasn't ready to open her heart. Not even a little. Still, sitting next to someone who didn't pressure her to share was comforting. Later that day, Maya walked along the edge of the property, taking in the wide fields, the distant mountains, and the open sky. The world felt big here, but instead of feeling lost, she felt like maybe she had space to breathe. She stopped near a small stream, the water moving with a soft, soothing sound. She sat on a rock and watched the water flow, letting her thoughts drift. She didn't hear Ethan approach until he sat down a few steps away from her, giving her enough distance to keep her space. He didn't speak at first, and she appreciated that. Eventually, he picked up a small pebble and tossed it gently into the water. "Whenever I'm overwhelmed," he said slowly, "I come here. The stream never stops moving. No matter how many obstacles it meets, it just keeps finding a way forward. I like that." Maya listened quietly. She wondered how someone so calm could understand the feeling of being overwhelmed. She didn't ask, but Ethan continued, as if sensing her unspoken thoughts. "People think living on a ranch means simple days, but life has its own way of testing all of us," he said. "I wasn't always good at slowing down. I used to rush through everything, trying to fix things that weren't mine to fix." Maya looked at him, curiosity softening her expression. "I lost my father a few years ago," he said gently. "He loved this ranch more than anything. When he passed, I felt a pressure to be strong for everyone else. But some days, I felt so tired I didn't know how to keep going." Maya's heart ached a little at his honesty. She didn't expect him to share something so personal with her. She wasn't used to people being open without expecting something back. "How did you manage?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "By learning that it's okay not to know what to do," he answered. "Some days I messed up. Some days I needed help. And slowly, I realized that being strong doesn't mean carrying everything alone." Maya looked away, her eyes growing warm. She didn't want to cry in front of him, not when she was trying to hold herself together. But his words stirred something inside her, something she had buried deep. Ethan didn't look at her directly. He watched the stream instead, giving her time to collect herself. "You don't have to talk about anything," he said softly. "But you don't have to hide everything either. Not here." Maya felt her throat tighten. She wasn't ready to share her pain, her doubts, or the feeling that she wasn't enough. She couldn't voice the fear that had followed her for years, whispering that she didn't matter. But Ethan didn't ask her to speak. He simply stayed beside her, quiet and steady. Like a safe place she didn't know she needed. They walked back to the ranch slowly, the sun lowering behind the distant hills. As they reached the barn, Ethan took a brush and handed Maya another one without saying a word. They brushed Daisy together, the quiet rhythm soothing and gentle. "You don't always need big steps," Ethan said after a moment. "Sometimes small steps are enough." Maya nodded slightly. She didn't fully believe it yet, but she wanted to. Later, during dinner, they sat across from each other again. Ethan talked lightly about ranch life, funny things the horses did, unexpected visitors, small memories that made him smile. His stories weren't loud or dramatic, but there was warmth in each one. Maya listened, realizing she couldn't remember the last time she heard someone speak with such calm sincerity. You should see the stars tonight, Ethan said after finishing his meal. The sky will be clear. Maya followed him outside after cleaning up. They stood on the porch, looking up as stars slowly filled the sky. It felt magical, like the world was gently reminding her that beauty still existed. Ethan stepped back, giving her space to enjoy the view. Maya breathed deeply, feeling a sense of peace settle inside her. It wasn't complete, but it was a start. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? He asked. For not asking too many questions, she answered. Ethan smiled softly. People open up when they're ready, he said. Not before. Maya felt something shift inside her, a tiny crack in the wall she had built around her heart. It wasn't much, but it was real. As she went to her room that night, she realized that Ethan's presence didn't make her feel pressured. It made her feel safe. And for the first time in a long while, she wondered if maybe she didn't have to carry everything alone. She lay down, feeling the softness of the pillow and the gentle whisper of the night breeze. The ranch had a way of slowing down her thoughts, calming her fears, and giving her moments of quiet she didn't know she needed. As her eyes closed, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, a small touch of hope. And hope, even the smallest kind, was enough to make her want to face another day. Maya woke up the next morning feeling a mix of calm and uncertainty. The ranch was slowly becoming familiar, but her heart still carried the weight she had brought with her. She tried to hide it as she helped Ethan with the morning chores. They fed the horses, replaced the water buckets, and walked through the fields checking fences after the night's winds. Everything looked peaceful, but inside her mind, thoughts kept moving like restless waves. Ethan noticed her quietness but didn't comment on it. He simply made sure she knew she wasn't alone. Sometimes he pointed out small things, how a bird built its nest, how the morning light touched the grass, how one of the horses always pretended to be grumpy but really liked attention. These little moments made Maya smile, even when she didn't realize it. But today, her heart felt heavier. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the memories she had been avoiding, or the fear that if she stayed too long, she would start depending on this peace too much. She wasn't used to kindness that didn't come with conditions. She wasn't used to anyone caring without expecting something in return. After finishing the chores, Maya walked toward the stream alone. She needed space to breathe. But even in the quiet of nature, her thoughts followed her. She sat on a flat rock, hugging her knees, watching the water flow over stones. The steady sound usually comforted her, but today, it only reminded her how stuck she felt in her own world. She tried to push away the memories, but they came anyway. Words people had said, things she had failed to do, promises she couldn't keep. She remembered how often she tried to make everyone happy, only to be told she wasn't doing enough. She remembered feeling unwanted, unnoticed, and unimportant. Each memory felt like a small weight added to her chest. She had come to the ranch to escape, but she hadn't escaped herself. She didn't notice Ethan walking toward her until he spoke gently. You okay? She wiped her eyes quickly, though she wasn't crying. Not yet. Yeah. I'm fine, she said, her voice soft and shaky. Ethan didn't argue or question her. He sat down beside her, leaving a little space, the same way he always did. He looked at the stream with her, letting the quiet stretch between them. Sometimes, he said slowly, people say they're fine when they're really trying hard to hold everything together. Maya didn't respond. She didn't want her voice to break. Being honest with yourself is the first step to healing. Ethan continued gently. You don't owe anyone explanations, but you owe yourself the chance to breathe. She swallowed hard. She knew he wasn't pushing her, but his words touched the part of her heart she had kept hidden for so long. A small tear formed in her eyes, and she blinked it away quickly. She didn't want him to see. Ethan stayed quiet. He didn't try to pull the words out of her. He just waited, calm and patient, like he understood that silence was sometimes the only language a hurting heart could speak. Finally, Maya took a deep breath. I don't know what's wrong with me, she whispered, her voice trembling. No matter what I do, it never feels like enough. Ethan turned his head slowly, watching her with soft concern. She looked away, unable to meet his eyes. I try so hard, she continued. I give everything I have. But people still leave. Or they lose interest. Or they say, I'm too much. Or not enough. And after a while, I started believing them. Another tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it this time. I feel like I don't matter, she whispered. Like I'm not worth anything. Her voice cracked on the last word, and the moment she said it out loud, the pain she had been carrying for years broke open. Tears began falling steadily. Her shoulders shaking lightly, she covered her face with her hands as quiet sobs escaped her. Ethan didn't move closer. Not immediately. He gave her the space to cry, the respect to feel her pain without interruption. He knew tears weren't weakness, they were the release she had been holding back for far too long. After a moment, he shifted gently. He reached out and touched her hand softly. His touch wasn't forceful or demanding. It was careful and warm, as if asking for permission. Maya didn't pull away. Slowly, he took her hand fully in his and held it, steady and reassuring. She looked at him through blurred eyes. Ethan gave her a soft smile, not the kind meant to make everything perfect, but the kind that said, You're not alone. Maya, he said quietly, you are worth more than you know. She shook her head weakly. I don't feel like it. That's because pain doesn't tell the truth, he said. She blinked, surprised by his words. People might have hurt you, he continued gently. But that does not mean you are unworthy. Sometimes people leave not because of us, but because of their own stories, their own struggles. People's opinions don't define your value. Maya listened, her tears slowing as his words settled into her heart. Worth doesn't come from being perfect, he said. It doesn't come from meeting someone else's expectations. It's already there, inside you. You just stopped seeing it, because life got too heavy. His voice was calm, filled with sincerity. He wasn't saying these things to make her feel better for a moment. He believed them. And you're not too much, he added softly. You're human. You feel deeply. You care. That's not a weakness. That's a strength. Maya looked away, her throat tightening again. But what if I disappoint people? You will, he said honestly. Everyone disappoints someone sometimes. But that doesn't make you worthless. It makes you human. She let out a shaky breath. Ethan's honesty made her feel strangely comforted. He didn't pretend life was perfect. He didn't tell her she would never be hurt again. He simply reminded her that her value didn't disappear because of other people's actions. He squeezed her hand gently. You are worthy of care, Maya. You always have been. For a long moment, she didn't speak. She just breathed, her tears drying slowly. She didn't feel fully healed, but she felt seen in a way she never had before. Ethan didn't see her as a burden or a mistake. He saw her as a person who had been hurting for far too long. The wind moved softly through the trees. The stream kept flowing steadily. And Maya, for the first time, felt a quiet shift inside her, a tiny spark of belief. Fragile but real. Ethan stayed beside her until her breathing calmed. When she finally looked up, their eyes met. And he smiled again, gentle, understanding, and full of encouragement. We'll take it one day at a time, he said. You don't have to rush. You don't have to fix everything at once. You're already doing enough by being here. Maya nodded slowly. The heaviness in her chest hadn't disappeared, but it felt lighter. Sharing her pain didn't make her weak. It made her human. And Ethan's presence made her feel safe in a way she couldn't explain. They walked back to the ranch slowly. Maya's steps were small but steady. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she felt something new. Something she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt hope that maybe she could build herself again, not for others, but for herself. The next morning came with soft sunlight settling across the ranch. The sky was clear and peaceful, as if the world itself understood that something inside Maya had quietly shifted. She felt tired from the emotional weight of the day before, but the heaviness in her chest had changed. It wasn't gone, but it was lighter, like someone had taken half the burden off her shoulders. She stepped outside and found Ethan already working near the barn. He looked over when he heard her footsteps and gave her a gentle smile. The kind that didn't ask questions or demand explanations. It simply said, "I'm glad you're here." Maya returned a small smile of her own. She was still a little shy after everything she had shared, but she didn't feel embarrassed. Ethan hadn't judged her. He hadn't seen her as weak. He had just listened, something very few people in her life had ever done. They fed the horses together, their movements calmer than usual. Daisy nudged Maya gently, as if sensing she needed kindness. Maya brushed her slowly, enjoying the quiet comfort of the animal's presence. Ethan stood nearby, fixing a loose gate hinge, humming softly under his breath. There was something peaceful about him. He didn't try to fill the silence with words. He let the moment breathe. After finishing the chores, Ethan walked toward the porch and sat down on the steps. Maya joined him after a moment, hugging her knees lightly against her chest. They watched the open fields in front of them, the wind moving gently through the grass like a quiet lullaby. "How are you feeling today?" Ethan asked softly. She took a moment to answer. "Still a little emotional," she admitted, "but lighter. Yesterday helped." Ethan nodded. "Letting the truth come out is never easy," he said, "but it frees some space inside." Maya looked down at her hands. "I've been scared for so long," she whispered. "Scared of disappointing others. Scared of being alone. Scared of being myself." "You don't have to be scared here," Ethan replied. "You're safe. And you're stronger than you think." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. She didn't know how to explain the comfort she felt, how simple kindness could reach places she didn't even know were hurting. The day passed slower than usual. Maya helped water the garden, cleaned the barn tools, and even tried learning how to guide one of the calmer horses. Every small task made her feel a bit more confident, as if each moment added a tiny stone to rebuild the strength she had lost over time. Around noon, Ethan suggested they take a walk to the far side of the ranch. Maya agreed, and they walked along a narrow dirt path lined with wildflowers. The quiet countryside air felt fresh in her lungs. She listened to the distant birds, the gentle whisper of the wind, and her own soft footsteps. As they walked, Ethan told her a few stories about when he first took over the ranch. Some were funny, some were touching, and all of them reminded Maya that everyone carried challenges. Nobody had a perfect life. Even the calmest, strongest people had moments of doubt. "You know," Ethan said as they reached a quiet hill, "sometimes we forget that healing is not a straight line. It's okay to have hard days. What matters is that you keep moving." Maya nodded. "I spent years thinking I had to be perfect," she said. "I thought that if I made one mistake, people would leave." "And did they?" Ethan asked gently. She hesitated. "Some did, and some stayed," he reminded her. She thought about that for a long moment. He was right. She had been so focused on the people who left that she forgot about the few who stayed. She forgot that not everyone saw her as a burden. She forgot that some people cared. Ethan sat on a smooth rock, and Maya sat beside him. The hill gave them a clear view of the entire ranch. The fields stretched endlessly, glowing under the afternoon sun. "This place feels different now," Maya said quietly. "Like I can finally breathe again." "I'm glad," Ethan replied. "You deserve to feel light." Maya felt her eyes warm again, but this time the feeling wasn't painful. It was soft, almost comforting, like her heart was healing one layer at a time. When they walked back to the ranch, they worked on a few small tasks, laughing softly at little things that went wrong: a bucket spilling, a horse refusing to move, a rooster chasing away a curious squirrel. Simple moments became warm memories. Later in the evening, they had dinner at the same wooden table where Maya had first sat days ago. But everything felt different now. She didn't feel like a quiet visitor. She felt connected, understood, and welcomed. Ethan spoke with the same calm voice, but now she could see the kindness behind every word more clearly. After dinner, they stepped outside again. The sun had dipped behind the hills, painting the sky with soft shades of purple and gold. Maya leaned on the porch railing, letting the cool air brush against her face. Ethan stood beside her, hands in his pockets. The world felt peaceful. "I'll have to go back soon," Maya said gently, her voice carrying a hint of sadness. Ethan nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said quietly. "But you'll go back different." Maya looked at him. "Do you really think so?" He turned slightly, meeting her eyes with a reassuring smile. "I know so. You didn't break, Maya. You just needed time, kindness, and space to remember who you are." She took in his words carefully, letting them sink into the parts of her heart that had been neglected. "I don't want to forget what I felt here," she said. "You won't," Ethan replied. "Because it didn't come from this place. It came from you. The ranch just helped you see it." Her eyes softened. She didn't know how to thank him. Not in words that would carry the weight of everything he had given her: patience, understanding, a safe place to breathe. So she said the only words that felt honest. "Thank you for everything." Ethan smiled gently. "You're welcome, and, Maya, you're worth more than you ever believed. Don't let anyone make you forget that again." The emotion in her chest grew warm and full. She didn't cry. Instead, she took a deep, steady breath, a sign that she was truly healing. They watched the stars appear one by one. The sky looked bigger than ever. Maya felt small, but not in a lonely way. She felt small in a connected way, like she was part of something bigger, something meaningful. When it was time for bed, Ethan stopped her before she went inside. "And if the world ever feels heavy again," he said softly, "you can always come back. The ranch will be here. And so will I." Maya felt a gentle smile spread on her face, a real one, full of quiet strength. "Thank you," she whispered. She slept that night with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Her heart wasn't fully healed, but it was no longer breaking. She had hope, confidence, and a small spark of belief in herself. And that was more than she ever expected to find. The next morning, as she prepared to leave, she stepped outside to take one last look at the ranch. The sun was rising again, washing the land with golden light. She took a deep breath, feeling grateful. Maya walked toward Ethan, who stood near the porch. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at her with the calm assurance she had come to recognize. "Take care of yourself," he said. "I will," she replied, and for once, she meant it. She got into the car, waiting to take her back toward the city. As the ranch slowly disappeared behind her, she didn't feel the old sadness she once carried. She felt stronger. She felt hopeful. She felt worthy. She had arrived at Willow Creek Ranch believing she was nothing. She left knowing she was something, and that made all the difference.